Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you the Spektrum S2100 charger. Now there's a lot of stuff here on the table, but don't let that worry you. Most of this is duplicates and some of this is some things that you might consider adding to your collection. So starting with this updater cable, there is a new update coming for Spektrum chargers that are going to be G2 batteries. These new batteries will not have the balance leads that are featured on the current batteries, so they'll need an update on the charger here to accommodate for those new batteries. So this is the updater cable. At the time of filming this video, this updater cable is about $11. I don't know if things will change in the future, but that's something that you might consider adding to your collection here. The next thing is an IC3 to a 4mm adapter. This will allow you to use some different cables with your charger. So if you have a cable such as this one with these 4mm bullets, that is what this is for. That will let you plug in. If you have some soldering skills, there is the option, of course, to build one of these. I made these myself before these were available. There is a soldering video on my channel. I'll put a card up somewhere about here. The next thing that you might need or consider is a IC3 to IC5 adapter. So if you are using some of these larger batteries with the IC5 plug, naturally that's not going to plug into the charger. So this converter cable is going to be something that you'll need to hook up the IC5 connectors to the charger. This adapter cable that I have here, this has that converter on it already over to the bullet plugs so that we can charge other battery connectors. So the Traxxas plug, the Deans, you can get these in a number of different ways, but I'm going to go over the processes of charging nickel metal hydride batteries and non-smart batteries on this charger, so of course we'll need some adapter cables for that. Starting with some of the basic functionalities of the charger here. These are pretty simple to operate. So if you hold this button down, this button will get you into the system settings menu so that you can adjust some different things. This is also how you get to your smart programming, because there is a chip in the end of the smart batteries that you can program. So the charger gives you the option to set all of that internal, as well as some of your volumes and touch sensitivities and various things that are in the menu. So this may not be something that you access very often, but if you need to, again, that's a long press of this button. So hold it and it will change. Now using the smart battery, we'll simply connect the battery to the charger, and this charger will recognize that that is a smart battery. So you see that it has changed it here to a smart connector. When we plug this in the balance lead. Now one thing to note is that the balance lead does plug in all the way over to the left, and that is on both ports. If you plug it in all the way to the right, it won't set up the balance lead correctly. So giving a long press, you're into the systems menu. You can access the smart batteries here, but since there's no battery connected to port 2, it won't let me access that side. But now that there is a battery connected, we can adjust our auto storage levels, our storage voltages, our charge currents, etc., etc., etc. That is how you will get to this menu, is again with that long press. Starting the charge on these batteries is pretty simple. We're going to go back to our menu. That was a short press to get to this menu, so short press. And then we can tell it what we want to do. So if we want to charge the battery, or discharge the battery, or storage charge the battery, this roller works a lot like the old iPod touches, where you just kind of press and rotate, and the center button will, of course, select. This is a lipo battery. Our fully charged battery should be 4.2 volts per cell. Since the smart charger has already sensed what the battery is, it's helping you set some of these settings. For the charge current, we can adjust this to match our milliamp rating of our battery. So if we take our milliamp rating, divide by 1,000, 2,200 milliamps would be 2.2 amps. Now this does have the option for max charge rates of 3C, so you could charge upwards of 6.6 amps, though I really would not recommend that. So just rolling down to 2.2 amps, pressing the button in, and starting the charge. So this is pretty simple. The battery is now charging, and you'll notice this orange screen that's here. That's going to indicate to you that your battery is charging. These 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are reading the individual cells. And you can see this number here. This is the number added to the battery pack. It does not know what is currently in the battery, so it will not be able to tell you that. Should you want to stop the charge for any reason, you can press the center button in, and then in this menu you have charge adjustments and stop. You do want to get in the habit of stopping the battery charging instead of just unplugging it to try and reduce things such as arcing. Using a battery that is not a smart battery, and we're going to do it with this lipo battery pack here. So of course we'll need our adapter cable. So we'll plug in our adapter cable. We'll hook up our power lead here, and don't forget the balance lead plugs in all the way to the left on this charger. Because this is not a smart battery, it has not sensed that sensor, it's not sensed that chip rather, and we'll have to do this all manually. So pressing in the roller. So back to this screen that we saw before. Now this is a battery, it's going to charge your battery. It's a lipo 4.2 volts per cell. This has sensed that it is a 3-cell based on its voltage that it's been put in. But this time we can adjust our current to 5.2 amps. And start charging the battery. And again, you'll see that orange screen, and this amperage rating will start to increase, as will the milliamp rating here. Again, being in the habit of stopping the charge whenever you need to stop it. When you are using cables such as this, you want to be careful not to unplug these while this is still plugged into the battery, because if these touch it, it'll short out your battery pack, and that will be bad. Charging the nickel metal hydride battery is much the same on this charger. So we will just plug in our battery pack here and then do short press on the charger. Navigate up to the battery type. So of course we want to change this to NIMH, NICD. And if you struggle with where that is located, it's almost always printed on your battery somewhere. So if you look right here in small print, let's see if it will focus, it may not. It is printed NIMH. A lot of the indicators too would be this rounded edge, because if you look at a lot of the lithium batteries, by comparison, they're very square. Now this does not mean that it's always a nickel metal hydride, but that's a good indicator that it is. So now that that is set correctly, we don't mess with the delta voltage. This is how the charger is peaking out the battery. So we don't mess with that. The cell count is automatic because it's reading the voltage of the battery. Now on nickel metal hydrides, I do recommend a 3 amp charge rating at the maximum. So 3 amps. And then press the start button. Now this is working much in the same way, but this time you see it reads nickel metal hydride charging. We have a 0.3 amp, and then this number here will start to increase as this one increases. So you see it reaching 1. Again, getting back to the habit of stopping the charge before we unplug it. Now, an additional setting you have within the charger here is you do have a discharge feature, and discharging will help your batteries last quite a bit longer for nickel metal hydride batteries, so you can set that up here. For lithium batteries, I don't recommend a discharge setting as much as I recommend the storage mode, because the storage mode will properly set your battery to be put away. Now, charging the IC5 connectors, we just plug in our adapter cable. We'll plug in the battery into here. And don't forget the balance lead, again plugging in all the way to the left. And you'll see on the screen that it is once again selected the smart battery pack. Doing a long press will let us adjust our chip settings within the battery pack. These can be adjusted to anything that you like, so if you wanted to set it to different hour ratings, but just pretty much use the default settings, these will work pretty well. Doing our short press, this is already sensed that it is a lipo battery. This is a 4S lipo, and it's selected our charge rate at 3 amps. But there's a couple settings we want to change from our last charge, so we want to go and change this to charge. Leave our cell voltages the same, and 12 amps is quite high. I don't recommend 12 amp charge rates, but this does have a maximum charge rate of up to 15 amps. So I would recommend bringing this down to 5 amps. And starting the charge. Now, if you do happen to forget to plug in your balance lead in your charger, most chargers will throw an error at you and refuse to charge the battery. This charger, on the other hand, if you try to start it, it will ask you if you want to perform the task without balancing. So this is a nice feature if you were in a hurry and you didn't want to balance your charger, because balancing your charger does tend to add a little bit of charge time to your battery pack. But I do recommend always balancing it for battery life and battery safety. The last thing I want to show you before we wrap up is this nifty little smart checker. Now this has some of the functionalities of this charger, including some balancing options and even a USB charge if you wanted to plug a USB cable into here. Now this is very slow for charging and balancing if you wish to use that feature, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that for this cell checker. Now plugging in the lipo battery here, using the smart battery, this will give you some of the functionality of the charger for adjusting the chip as well. So in the same way we did with the charger, long press on the button, and here's all of your settings for the chip. Doing a short press will access some of the menus, including the USB charge and the cell balancing features that are within the charger. Cell balancing will do it as a discharge function, and it does take quite a long time. So again, I would recommend using the charger instead of this device to balance the cells. This also has a servo tester in it, so you can center up servos, test servos to make sure that they're functioning, and have some of those features as well. Now pressing the up arrow button does access the system settings within this checker. So if you needed those, make sure you press the up key. And it does default to that original screen. So if we did press that, it's back to that original USB charge function. Well guys, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope that you have found it beneficial in some way. If you have, consider giving me a thumbs up, a subscription, and hit that bell. I mention this in all of my videos. If you're not hitting that bell, you're not getting notifications when the new videos go up. So if you want those notifications, make sure you go back and do that for all of your subscriptions. Well, that's going to do it for today, and I hope to see you in the next one.